Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie Pukuhit. Today I'm going to explain cultural dimension, communication in high and low context cultures, and the need to develop intercultural competence in EFL students. So first are going to explain the different cultural dimension, like individualism versus collectivism, power distance, masculinity versus femininity, uncertain avoidance, short-term versus long-term orientation. So let's talk about individualism versus collectivism. This dimension is related to the degree to which people in a society are integrated into groups. So first we have individualism. Individualism society uh, expects that people take care only of themselves and their family. Individualism societies also people are less dependent of the other members in their community. Another characteristic is that confrontation can be seen as healthy in these cultures, which means that if you have a different point of view from from the members of the community, you can discuss it and try to reach an agreement. In individualism cultures, tax prevails over relationship. They prefer to achieve individual goals. In individualism societies, the use of I is prevalent. A difference of collectivism societies or cultures. Here they are individuals here are motivated by intrinsic rewards. Rewards we mean internal factors like personal satisfaction or following their passion in their work, rather than receive rewards like money or any other reward in material terms. In collectivism cultures, people take care of members of their extended family and members of their community, which means it's not only your mom, dad, siblings, or daughter and son. You also take care of your grandmother, your aunt, uncle, and your neighbors. Why? Because this you have in exchange loyalty and obedience. Here in a collectivism culture, harmony is the key of this culture, which means that if you have any different idea of the other members of your society, you must keep for yourself to avoid confrontation. Here, relationship prevails over tax, and you can see because they have an extent members of in their families or in their community, they prefer to have that relation over task. Now let's talk about the next cultural dimension, that is power distance. So this dimension refers to how power is organized in a society in general, how culture expect and accept that power are distributed in the society. So we have 2 points. The one is a high power distance society or culture, where they have certain characteristics. The first one is that they have a respect towards people that have a higher status or are older of you, which means they have a strong family and social ties. Also, the inequality in power is support, which means that they have an hierarchical scales and they agree with that. Here, every person have a defined role, and you can just follow that role without any disagreement. Here, in this high power distance society, parents teach children to be obedient. And the same with the subordinates. You cannot go in a fight for different opinions with your boss. Which is different to a low power distance cultures where they prefer a participative management or organization, which means that you can have different opinions in your company, in your house, in the school. This society expects equality in all the aspects. And if they see that exists inequality, they try to reduce it to keep equality in the society. Also here, the relationship between children and their parents is they treat like equals. And the respect for elder people or for people that are in a higher position than you is not that strict as in the high power distance. So now the next dimension is masculinity versus femininity. The first one is a masculine culture, where this culture or society is driven by competition, achievement, and succeed, with the aim of earning money or getting recognition. So this society, the gender roles are clearly distinct, which means that men are supposed to be the provider, the assertive, and they only need to focus on the material success, while women are supposed to be the modest, the one who take care of the family, and they need to be concentrate on the quality of life. Here in these cultures, work prevails over family, since they want to achieve more rewards. Also, religion focuses on God. Now, in a feminine society or culture, there is a preference for relationship, for take care of the weak, and for humility, which means that standing off of the crowd is not admirable. Uh, Here in the feminine society, the role for men and women is the same. Also, the balance between family and work it needs to be equal, and the religion focus on fellow human beings. In this society, rather than external rewards like money or recognition, they want to have a society that it have a good quality of life. Now, the next dimension is uncertain avoidance that deals with the society tolerance for ambiguity. This indicates to what degree a culture allows its members to feel uncomfortable or comfortable in situations that are new, that are surprising or different from the usual. Here we also have two different points of cultures. We have a high uncertain avoidance. These cultures have strict rules, have behavior codes that are high value. They have everything in control, which means that having this structure in everything helps to live their lives more comfortable. This society has a limit for change. They see change like something scary because they have a high value for history, for the culture and traditions. Uh, like I mentioned, they are intolerant to different thinking because they have this thinking that if you have another opinion, it could be dangerous for the harmony in the society, which is different to uncertain avoidance that is low. Here, cultures see the change as something inevitable, something normal. They have they accept different ideas between the members of the society, and also they innovate in all areas available because they have this that change is inevitable. The next dimension is long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. This is related to how societies prioritize their future. In long-term orientation cultures, we have that they focus on the future in long term, which means to 25 or 50 years in the future, and how that could bring more rewards to them related to the perseverance. Also, they emphasize that planning for the future is better. Transitions for them are something that traditions are something that probably change with the circumstance. Another characteristic of this culture is that students or individuals that are from this culture attribute success to effort and failure to the lack of effort, which means that if you are lazy, you are going to have uh, bad grades or a bad develop in your work. These societies have a fast economic growth, and then we have a short-term orientation. These cultures focus on the present and past because they respect their traditions. For them, tradition are sacrosanct. There is something that you have to follow. Here, they focus on immediate needs and desires that are primordial, which means that they only planning for the short term, which means for the 5 or 6 years in the future. They are more interested in what's happening now. That's why they have a slow or not grow economic input. And also here, students are tend to attribute their success or failure to luck. So now let's talk about intercultural competence. This is the ability to communicate, to interact with persons with to interact with people from diverse cultural background that you can understand, respect, and adapt your communication style to have a good conversation with them. When to achieve this intercultural competence, you must be open to learning about the other cultures, to have curiosity about the cultures and how they are similar or different from your own culture, to openness to change or adapt your communication style in order to understanding and respecting the values and norms from other cultures. Also, intercultural comprehension allow you to navigate and resolve conflicts that arise from cultural difference peacefully, and also you can adjust your behavior and expectations to accommodate to the different cultural norm and preference from these other cultures. So when you achieve this intercultural competence, you are going to have an efficient cross-cultural communication where when you meet persons from other countries. Because in the world like globalized right now, it's important to understand these diverse cultures where we have to consider the different social norms, their values, their attitudes that varies from country to country. Science, because with that we can build trusty relationships with these people from different backgrounds. and we can have that ability to manage communication without interruptions, without make any mistakes or provoke any misunderstanding when we are talking to that person with our words or with our actions. Now let's talk about high and low context communication. So first we have the high context communication cultures, where communication depends on contextual cues, nonverbal communication, and the message is implicit when we transmit, when we communicate or transmit the message, which means that these cultures or society, you have to read between lines, or you have to focus not only in the words but also in the expression of the person that is speaking to you, their body language. Because these cultures share history, religion, ethnicity, they don't need to share that much background information to transmit a message. And also they don't have to know or have that much information to know how to behave or interact between the members of that society. An example of high context culture is the country of Japan, where for greetings, they have this implied rule that they just bow to say hi instead of shaking hands. Also, another example of these high context cultures are here in Latin America, Ecuador. We have a different intonation of voice when we want to transmit something, depending of the message that we want to transmit. We can raise our voice, or we can lower our voice to talk more sweetie or more aggressive, depending the message that we want to transmit. These high context cultures, I'm gonna say they are more guest communicative, because you have to read between lines, like I mentioned at the beginning. Then we have the low context cultures, where the communication, to communicate information, they have to express their message, stating the point very explicit, since they require a lot of background information to transmit the message and to be understood. So they have less interpersonal relationship. That's why they need more information to transmit a message. They don't use context clues or facial expression like a high context culture. And an example of here is the United States or East European countries, that they are more direct when they want to transmit something. They are an ask communication. If you want something for them, you need to ask directly to the point to receive a very good answer. Finally, for EFL students, it's important to establish these links between the cultural dimension, cross-cultural communication, and the development of intercultural competence to avoid misunderstanding when they are speaking to another to people from another culture. When we have an understanding of cultural dimensions, we can now see if the person we are talking came from a cultural background where they are more individualistic or more collectivistic, or the power distance is different, so you need to address them more formal or informal. If they have that background where masculinity culture is more present in their culture, if they have long-term versus short-term orientation, which means they are being more relaxed about their future, with that we can have cross-cultural communication, a better understanding of what we want to transmit. So here we have this question: what this knowledge of cultural dimension and the development of intercultural competence is important for EFL students? Like I mentioned before, this is important because it enables students to adapt their style communication to the different cultures, and also allow us to recognize what difference and similitudes we have with these cultures, so we can avoid misunderstanding, or we can avoid actions that are sensitive for them or inappropriate for that countries. Also, give the students an opportunity to discuss about the difference or the similitudes with other students that came from a different background, always respecting them. And also, when EFL learners watch or read in different idioms, they are going to understand slangs, idiomatics, or jokes that are only understood by native people because they came from a different cultural context. So that's all. Thank you for watching.